Good afternoon, and thank you for attending my presentation called No Job Seeker is an Island. I would like to thank Dr. Montserrat Vasquez for giving me this opportunity, and my job coach at Auticon, Adam Goldman, and my wife, Isabel Nunes, for their support. Several years ago, in 2013, when working on my Masters of Arts degree in War Studies at King's College London, I attended Professor Lawrence Freeman's launch of his book Strategy. Strategy, Professor Freeman writes in this magisterial work, is the manipulation and shaping of our environment to avoid succumbing to forces beyond our control. Strategy, he continues, is moving through a succession of unstable states, each a combination of circumstances created by ourselves and outside forces. In each of these states, we need to assess the situation and from there reassess our strategy, and indeed our goal. This is, in fact, remarkably similar to how I, as an autistic person, constantly need to adapt to changes in my environment. One unexpected element of strategy that Professor Freeman stresses is the need to have allies to succeed. Without allies, according to Professor Freeman, it becomes nigh impossible to obtain the desired goal, be it for a field marshal, business or labor leader, civil rights activist, or indeed a job seeker. Let us therefore forget the myth of the self-made man. Almost invariably, such persons have had help by family connections, their own networking, or having the support of persons who saw their future usefulness. And these are exactly the things that are most difficult to obtain for us on the autism spectrum. Yes, some of us can be so outstanding in their studies that they are snapped up by recruiters immediately upon graduation. But that option is not available for most of us. We are supposed to go it alone, as our social shortcomings prevent us from building up the expected networks. Many of us are also undiagnosed and come from childhoods that have not been supportive of our development. Adding to that, because of our autism, it is so difficult writing catchy CVs, and we are even worse at traditional interviews. Is it then such a wonder that up to 80% of autists are either underemployed or unemployed? Furthermore, many, if not most jobs are not advertised, but filled using social networking, word of mouth, or by the pulling of strings. I actually talk from my own experience how difficult it can be to overcome all these obstacles. In the early 1990s, I was a recent graduate and began looking for employment. At that time, unemployment was high among recent graduates in Sweden. Many of those who found employment found it using contacts and ended up working in positions far removed from what they had studied to do. To make it extra difficult for autistic people, Swedish companies also preferred to select applicants that would fit into existing company culture. I found myself in a position where I had no friends or contacts that could help me. Neither did I know then that I was autistic. Because I was undiagnosed, I could not understand why some activities were so easy for other people but so difficult for me. And all too often I ended up isolated without never ever understanding why. I had struggled socially. Indeed, I could only find acceptance among fringe groups in society, such as role-playing gamers and anarchists, which is not conducive to finding gainful employment. In addition, because I was undiagnosed and did not receive any help, indeed, I did not understand that I perhaps should have consulted a counselor. I struggled so much with anxiety, confusion, and depression that my grades suffered. One of the few bright spots at that time for me was that one professor had spotted something in me and agreed to supervise my master's thesis in geophysics. His mentorship helped instill some form of confidence in me. Even with that important support, for all intent, I was written off in the Swedish job market. After years of fruitless effort trying to find employment in Sweden, I took the plunge and moved to the UK to try my luck here. In the early 1990s, the job market was good here, and I also had some friends who were willing to assist me. While in Sweden my personality barred me from most jobs, here in the UK I was considered an eccentric, which in no way would prevent me from finding employment. Furthermore, I was a foreigner and was not expected to be familiar with British culture. In Sweden, my contact with employers were often met with indifference or ridicule. Here in the UK, it was different. Employers were genuinely curious about me and why I was looking for employment here, of all places, and often offered advice on how to improve my application, even if they had no jobs for me. They also wished me good luck and assured me I would eventually find employment, as initiative was valued. I could focus 100% on job search, as my parents grudgingly had agreed to support me financially. Still, it was soul-destroying. Even though I received encouragement, I still could not find employment. My friends helped me with advice, and I could often use their computer, printer and telephone. I am autistic, yes, and I, like most autistic people, do not have any of the oft-touted autistic superpowers. If I have any superpower, it is stubbornness. I just kept on and needed only just enough encouragement not to give up. To be perfectly honest, I understood that giving up would be even worse than the present situation I was in. I had done some preparations. I had become a member of the Society for Geographic Information and a fellow of the Geological Society of London. These two learned societies published almanacs, which among a lot of other useful professional information held listings of all companies associated with the fields of geography and other geosciences. Most importantly, their contact details. Those were the resources I used to send in my cold applications. It was a process of calling to find out who to send my application to, and then to send in my CV. Often during these calls, I was so nervous I stuttered. Included among these listings were all recruitment agencies specializing in the geosciences. These agents were especially useful as a job seeker, I then got included in their large networks of professional contacts. They also rewrote my CV to fit their clientele. The quality and helpfulness of these agencies varied greatly. Most agencies I contacted were indifferent, and I was just a name among many and disappeared among the files. However, a couple of them saw a potential in me, and we developed a personal relationship where they sent my reworked CV to their clients and arranged interviews for me. Even so, time passed. After several fruitless months, I was worn out and was about to give up when finally one agent told me that he would find me a position. It could take some time, but he would definitely place me. It actually only took him about a week. One of his oldest and best clients contacted him just then, with a request for a candidate with an extremely specific and narrow profile. Take your time, they said. He replied that he actually had just the perfect fit on his book just now. Even though I did not do too well on the interview, they decided to take a chance on me, and I ended up with my first job. What is the lesson here? It could be easy to say that I had achieved this on my own. But that would not be the whole truth, would it? As you can infer from what I had said, I had helped. From my parents, however unwillingly, from my friends, and finally, and most vitally, from employment agents who chose to sponsor me. No matter my determination, I could not have achieved this without allies, thereby partially vindicating Professor Friedman's thesis. That option is not possible for many autistic persons. When being assessed for autism, the first question the counselor asked me was whether I had ever had any friends. Does that not tell us the reality of many autistic people? How can we be expected to live up to our potential if we go through life without any friends and allies? In that respect, I think it is unquestionable that autism is a disability. The social isolation we often experience makes it difficult for us to gain access to the job market, or to hold on to the jobs we have, as we so often fail at office politics. Even at work, it is important to have allies. One way for an autistic person is to work hard and become an indispensable member of the team, or a go-to person for a specific expertise or skills. From my own personal experience, I know that the jobs I have done the best at are the ones where I have found some form of mentor, most often in the shape of a senior colleague. Their role has been completely voluntary, as there were never any formal programs to integrate me in the teams. Those people helped me settling down and learning the ins and outs of the job and navigate intricate office politics. Because of our social isolation and poor understanding of office politics, autistic people are easy targets in a workplace. I know that also from my own experience. The most extreme example I can give comes from when I was working at a call center as a customer service agent for a power tool company. One morning I got a call from a customer about an industrial accident. The power tool company representative had not notified management, and in desperation the client contacted customer service, and I ended up taking the call. As I understood this to be urgent, I informed management of the power tool company directly. It turned out that my supervisor at the call center felt slighted by this, and in retaliation had me suspended. I was made the scapegoat where several other people had failed in their jobs. The call center expected me to resign, but with the help of my wife, I began to fight back. We began contacting various organizations. While sympathetic, there was nothing they could do because of recent cuts in funding. In the end, the diversity and inclusion officer at my wife's place of work agreed to take on my case, and in the end managed to get me reinstated. When I joined Auticon, I found myself at an organization that was not just an employer but also an ally. Auticon is a social enterprise, which means it is not only a company, but has a social mission of empowering autistic people through employment and advancing the understanding of autism and improving the situation of autistic people in society. Auticon has also enabled me to be an ally myself to autistic people looking for employment. I have experienced myself how difficult it is to find allies for autistic people, and society at present does not provide many allies for an autistic person to go to. However, there are some points of light. A few weeks ago, I attended the launch of GAIN, the Group for Autism Insurance and Neurodiversity, which involves Zurich, where I am presently on secondment, and there are a few other business initiatives. Allies do not need to be physical persons or organizations, and they are needed at all stages of the professional career of autistic people. The IMAGE project is a joint operation between 5 leading European universities to help develop a tool to assist autistic graduates with the job seeking and employers and higher education institutions with information about autism. This will be an online tool available for computers and apps for mobile devices. Most importantly, it's developed with the input from autistic people. It will be very comprehensive and will include CV templates and interviewing techniques, all of which I would have found useful in my own job hunt. To summarize, everybody needs allies in all stages of life. The myth of the self-made man is just that, a myth. Yet, autistic people are especially disadvantaged here, as our social difficulties often prevents us from gaining these allies. Yet, society is changing, with companies like Auticon and the IMAGE project assuming the role of allies, both as helping individuals and autistic people in their career and personal development, but also championing autistic people as a group by acting as advocates and improving the understanding of autism among employers. Thank you for listening, and I will now be available for taking your questions.